Hi everyone, this is Mike Gordon. Welcome to Perfect Playthroughs, where the goal is to beat the game accomplishing everything this game has to offer. Or at least make the best effort possible in a game like this. Platforming mechanics is a little wonky. Anyways, today we're going to be playing my first ever PlayStation game, as well as the first video game I ever got as a Christmas present. This is Floating Runner, Quest for the Seven Crystals. A quick heads up, I'm laying out the loading screens. There are a ton of them, and being a PlayStation game, they all last a while. I'm also playing this game on easy mode because the enemies shoot fireballs and are coked out of their minds on higher difficulties. And though Cress is a better character in exploiting the game's collision detection due to her ponytail, I'm gonna play as Lei instead. Not gonna exploit the game's wonky mechanics unless it's necessary. Speaking of wonky mechanics and being coked out, I should probably point out the rapid firing from my pop gun. Unfortunately, this is probably going to be my last PlayStation game I attempt to play in a long time. The reasons being are many, but the endless gameplay lag is the cause of the turbo-style jumping. The crystal here is the end goal of every stage. Depending on the color depends on which stage we go to. I want to go through the red crystal first since it's the hardest level. Conditions for a perfect playthrough is to obtain every weapon and heart container in the game. All the chests I passed contain potions, which are instant use and never stored, that's why I skipped them. I bring this up because in Waterworld there's a heart container that can only be obtained via a shortcut to the end, and getting there through the intended methods are impossible. This makes the jump I'm about to make the most difficult jump in the game by a country mile. Having said that, there's a reason this game is called Floating Runner. You can run while holding circle. Every time you jump while running, you can time your jump inputs as soon as you hit the ground and gain a little momentum. For the record, I did use a save state here so I can practice this jump repeatedly. Even study the GDQ speed around the game in preparation. Godspeed! Phew. That was a close one. Not for the amateur collision detection, this secret heart here would be impossible. Instead of a chest, we'd have a ton of bouncing boulders here. Also, FYI, one of those two chests back there also had a heart. Did I mention this game has tank controls? That explains why I didn't use the trampoline. And why I'm reluctant to kill enemies. Like, look at this, I'm dead! And watch what's about to— I'm dead again! And now I'm down from 6 hearts to only 2! Thank God we're near the crystal. Similar to the zones in Sonic 2, every stage except the first is split into 2 parts. The world and the palace. The world crystals are always the color that corresponds to the world that you are in. And the palace crystals alternate from one color to the next. Those take you to the next world. Also, the game always restores 2 heart containers every time you go through the crystal, so that's nice. Before anyone that has played this game and gone to the very end, you know why it's actually better to play the hardest levels first. You see, the game is generous enough to provide you with unlimited continues. The downside to this is that whenever you use a continue, you are brought back at half health, and your gem count at the bottom right corner resets to 0. The game caps you at 10 hearts and 5 gems collected, so keep that in mind. The purpose behind those gems is to act as ammunition. That bomb I just collected is one of 6 weapons that used up those gems as ammo, and is easily the strongest weapon in the game. And the Fire Palace can be a run-ender with all this platforming, if you're not careful. You'll see why in a bit, but my reasonings for choosing this level first doesn't just end at Waterworld, or even at the Fire Palace. Yeah, don't use these enemies like trampolines, they're just there to get in the way. Well, that was a close call. Too bad I'm about to die soon anyways, but hey, at least I chose to play this level first. Considering the family strategy was to play these levels from easiest to hardest, it's no wonder it took over 12 years before any one of us, specifically me, could finally beat it. While I'm speeding through this section, I can't stress this enough, but attempting to play a PlayStation game on a PC was a huge mistake. Considering the fact that I had to awkwardly map the controls onto a keyboard, as well as all the emulation lag causing the rapid fire shots, you can see why this is increasingly looking to be a one and done. My hands are sore from all the carpal tunnel just by thinking about it. Thank God this game predates Mario 64, cause I can't imagine having to map out analog controls as well. And here's yet another reason I chose Waterworld first. Not only is the platforming in this section a nightmare just to navigate, I mean look at this, I died a couple platforms ahead, and yet the game respawns me all the way back here. But that's not even the worst part, because as you can see, there are lower platforms down there, but I at least got to respawn up here. I could potentially land back down on the lower platforms and have to work my way all the way back up here. And as you can see, there's a time limit. Oh yeah, that's right, there are 3 ways to get a game over. The first option is obvious, you choose no on the continue screen. Option number 2, you run out of time. Fire Palace is one of 2 levels where it is very easy to run out of time. And option 3 is dying with just 1 heart container. I'll explain this one in a bit in greater detail, but it is possible to permanently lose heart containers. Anyways, this is the final push. I have to think about which world I want to go to next. I don't want to hop into the crystal while it's magenta color, and I prefer to hold off on violet for later. That leaves us with either yellow, green, or aqua. While green is the next hardest level, I'm thinking I should take the aqua crystal next. It may be one of the easier levels, but it's also the next easiest to die, if that makes sense. So here we are in Waterworld. No signs of Kevin Costner or Dennis Hopper to be found anywhere, but there is an ice rod and heart container collector close by. Just let me take out these enemies and stock up on gems. Again, gems are basically ammunition around here. If this was on normal difficulty, those flying enemies would be dropping bombs on my head right now, and all the stationary enemies would be shooting fireballs. On hard, every enemy in the game has a projectile, including the aggressive runners. And on expert, everybody's high on crack and have gone completely apeshit. Now let's see. No. In this stage, the ice rod and heart container are together. Oh well, at least I got a giant blue gem worth 200 out of it. That should be enough to max out my gem count. Having said that, we now know where the ice rod and heart container are located. Now for some tricky ass platform, made even worse by the fact that I'm using a keyboard. Trying to figure out which shoulder buttons let you do a sideways jump was already hard enough. But while I'm making it through this section with the boulders, you may have noticed that the bombs are to the right and the ice rod is to the left of my default pop gun. My final reason why I chose Waterworld last was to ensure that I get the bomb first. That way, I just need to press triangle once, and I'm there with a bomb in hand. The weapons closest to the pop gun are always going to be the first and last weapons you acquire on your journey. For the most part, I don't care about the other weapons other than for completionist sake. They all suck anyways. But I do care about which weapons I want first and last, since those are the weapons that will prove most useful to me in defeating the final boss. Anyways, we're near the crystal to the water palace, which will require some tricky platforming to pull off. You have to run into the slippery water and hope for the best. Note that this stage is the only stage in the game where the water doesn't hurt you. Now for those of you who have read the instruction manual, none of the second acts of each world are referred to as palaces. This is just a term I coined to best describe such acts. In general, the first act of each world is supposed to look more naturalistic, with the Waterworld being an exception mainly due to necessity. The second act, however, always incorporates a ton more emphasis on architecture, and the Water Palace is no exception, even if there's technically more water platforms. Another difference happens to be in the first act's emphasis on following the arrows to get to the end. The second act, however, puts more emphasis on verticality. You actually have to go up or down to reach the end. As such, I decided to dub the first act as worlds while the second act is dubbed palaces. For the record, the introductory level is simply called the Crystal Park. Sorry I haven't talked much about the strategies here, but this really is just a long upward hallway. But it is here where the deaths keep coming due to the mixture of tank controls and laggy inputs, and is the main reason I chose Waterworld as the second world we pay a visit to. There's really no threat of having to backtrack here, which is the reason why I consider Waterworld be the third easiest world aside from Crystal Park. But we are nearing the end of the stage, which means the crystal to the next world is just up ahead. I don't consider any of the remaining worlds to be particularly scary. Maybe one or two sections at Desert World, but that's about it. But there really is no argument here. Forest World is the next scariest and the most difficult stage left over. But hindsight's 2020. After all, Forest World itself is the only stage in the game that doesn't have any bombless pits. Crystal Parks and Desert World have them, but you have to go out of your way to find them. But as it turns out, hindsight informed me that I was completely right. Because to make up for the lack of bottomless pits, developers decided to cram as many aggressive enemies as humanly possible, as well as many tedious platforming sections. And of course, everybody that has played this game remembers the tree. By God, that fucking tree. That fucking tree, alongside the fire palace, were both reasons why the rest of my family struggled just to get to the very end. My mom and I, as far as I know, were the only ones to have done it. Hell, I still struggle with the tree to this very day. Anyways, there are some chests up there. Let me see if I can find a way up there, though. I know for a fact that they don't contain any weapons or heart containers. In fact, as far as I know, Forest World alongside the Crystal Park and the Final World are the only worlds in the game that doesn't contain a heart container. And if it does, it's probably guarded behind an impossible to reach detour shortcut somewhere in the Forest Palace. Believe me when I say that I had combed the world itself just to make sure it wasn't hidden in plain sight somewhere. So I know for a fact that it isn't anywhere here. And for the record, the weapon itself is actually located in the palace. Oh, come on! Get the fuck up there! Jeez! Oh, come on! I fucking slipped off the platform in the fucking lion's den! Okay, fine, let's get this shit over and done with. Let's kill some enemies. Okay, just one more hornet to go, and... Oh, where did you guys come from? Don't tell me these guys followed me down here from up on the ledge. And now I'm down to half a heart. Might as well just fucking die now. At least then I'll regain half my health. But so long as there aren't any hornets to be found, I might as well try and claw my way out of this pit. Oh right, I forgot to demonstrate this. But there are invisible walls on both sides of the bridge, so it's impossible to hop off into the void down below. Gotta take care of these hornets first because we are here. You might not be able to see it now, but the tree is here. Can't reach the hornets, so might as well go on ahead. Here's the tree. As we get closer, I shudder at the thought of it. To reach the crystal that will take us to the Forest Palace, we have to fucking climb this thing. With slippery tank controls. And yes, I am dead fucking serious. Anyways, I just died, so might as well look for a hidden chest with a potion inside while I'm at it. Should also go about recollecting the gems I lost as well. It's in one of these trees, and depending on the angle, you can sort of tell as the chest will just jet out of there, as if the pine itself is an illusion. I think yes it is, it's right here. And just in time too, because these enemies are out for blood. Okay, let's take them out, then take the potion before it disappears. Good. Now to make our way up that fucking tree. Wait, hold on, there's gotta be more enemies lying around here. Come on. Well, they ain't coming out, so fuck it. Let's just do this. Why, yes, of course there were a couple more enemies left. And of course I slipped off the log. Oh well, might as well take these guys out. Any more enemies left in the wings? Huh? Anyone? Anyone? No? Well, okay, fine. I'm climbing this fucking tree. And a reminder, I'm climbing this fucking tree on a keyboard. That means actively trying to run and jump up each branch one at a fucking time. Crap like this is why I wish there was a bottomless pit underneath the tree, because at least then I'd respawn on top of the branches if I were to fall off. The ironic part is that I'm pretty sure developers may have intended for this to be the easy level. After all, they did program invisible walls around the bridge leading to this fucking tree. Eventually, I started to get wise to the fact that the input and gameplay lag were the central culprits behind my inputs failing to register, which was also the main reason why I sometimes either fail to jump or fail to run. So I decided to just say, you know what, fuck it, and use my second save state here. Reminder, first save state was for the leap of faith in Waterworld. I know it's cheating and all, but you know what, enough is enough. I've had it with this motherfucking tree in this motherfucking world. I mean, it's not like I'm using save states every single time I come to a standstill. I still want to make it to the top under my own power, even if I have to compete against the emulation lag and awkward control setup to do so. Okay, just a little bit. Fuck, almost fell off. Anyways, we're at the end right here. Guess the developers wanted to spare us the agony of climbing all the way up to the top of this fucking tree. But you know what? Goodbye and good riddance, fucking tree. But now we are at the Forest Palace. Ironically enough, this is probably the only second stage of all of these worlds to be significantly easier to clear than the first stage. And that's in spite the fact that you can fall into the void down below. But while we restock on gems and wait for the platform to come back down, I might as well talk about the plot of Floating Runner. An evil dragon named Czar has laid siege upon the Crystal Worlds, and only our two heroes, an apprentice priestess named Cress and a bounty hunter named Lei, must collect the crystals before making their way to Czar's stronghold, simply known as Darkworld. The crystals are as follows: red for fire, aqua for water, green for forest, yellow for desert, violet for sky, and magenta for swamp. Darkworld's crystal is black and can only be acquired after you've cleared all the other stages. Basically, it's an arcade-style 3D platformer ripping off Zelda and Final Fantasy. You can't even save your progress in this game. The save feature is exclusively for the high scores. Not that this game really needs a save feature. It's about as short as your average Genesis or NES title. And if you were like me and my family back in Christmas of '96, then you probably had no idea what a memory card even was, even if you were to actually have one. So I guess you can consider Floating Runner to be an ideal introductory title for the PlayStation. Anyways, time to pick up the homing gun. Instead of following the arrow, you should instead go the opposite direction. Be sure to press one of the shoulder buttons to change the camera view and hope for the best. And yes, these two camera views are the only camera controls available to you in Floating Runner. These two chests over here contain a potion and a homing gun. It's supposed to be a weaker version of the pop gun, but with longer range and being able to home in on enemies. But it still requires gems for ammunition, so I won't use it. As I said before, Forest World is the only world in Floating Runner, not counting the first or last levels, not to contain a heart container. If there is one, it probably requires using the trampolines here to get to it. And no, the leap of faith from Waterworld won't work because the sides of these platforms don't have collision detection, and they're on a slightly higher altitude anyways. Because using multiple trampolines in succession are literally impossible in Flame Runner, despite the intent behind them, I won't count this stage's heart, if it indeed has a heart, as a part of the game's percentage completion. Besides, Waterworld is the only stage to contain 2 heart containers, so no harm, no foul. But now that we made our way back here, we can continue on with the rest of the level. Luckily, making this jump here is much easier than the last jump. It's not as crooked or anything, so I don't have to readjust the camera just to make sure I land. There is a shortcut nearby, but it involves a broken slippery slide, so no thanks. I'm taking my chances with this here mob of enemies instead. This is my chance at the platform, so I'm gonna have to hold the fort here instead. Oh well, better safe than sorry, I always say. Alright, now's my chance. There we go. And here's yet another horde, an angry mob of enemies. I'm already maxed out on gems, so really I'm just trying to clear some space so I could continue on with this level. Keep in mind that I don't want to get hurt to lose too many heart containers. I want to keep my health up as much as humanly possible from now on. Not only to avoid losing out on gems, but also... And... Okay, we made the trampoline jump here. Okay, so far so good. There aren't any enemies that we have to worry about. And now we go here. And right now I should probably talk about the music. This game has pretty fantastic music. Now, people that play Flame Runner basically describe Flame Runner as like Bubsy 3D, but with better music, slightly better controls and gameplay, and almost no voice samples. Just the ones you make when I want to make it to the desert world first. That's why I'm waiting for the crystal to turn yellow. Fuck. And right into that one. But that's okay, I'll recover my lost health once I get through into that crystal right here. Alright, once it turns yellow, I'm running. Okay, let's go. Go! Ah. Alright, once it turns yellow, I'm in. Good. Perfect. On to Desert World. Desert World is, by my own estimation, the 3rd hardest level in the game, due in large part to 2 platforming sections. Nowhere near as bad as Forest World or Fire World, but still. It's quite possible to time out if you're quite unfortunate. There's even a potential death sink in the Desert Palace that can not only waste your time, but also waste away your heart containers. But outside the laggy controls and occasional missed input, this platforming section really isn't that bad. I think more than anything, the lack of easy deaths, with the lone exception this world, is the primary reason why I held off on playing it up until now. You might be thinking I used a save state or something to make breezing through this stage rather easy, but the truth is it's honestly a very short level. Once you make it through this awkward platforming section, I'm pretty much off to the races. Yeah, no wonder the camera's so awkwardly inflexible if the draw distance is gonna be that shady. I don't even need to highlight my point. It's staring right at you in the face. Desert World is a world that's on the brink of collapsing in on itself. It might not have been as frustratingly difficult as Fire or Forest World, but Desert World was always my least favorite stage, even as a kid. Desert Palace isn't even that much better. In fact, it looks even less interesting. Speaking of which, we made it to the crystal. Now off to the Desert Palace. Okay, first things first, I'm going to try and cut through the boulders here. And when I say that the Desert Palace looks less interesting, I'm not kidding. It's an endless black void surrounded by polygonal platforms. Guess it's supposed to be a desert temple or something, which explains the torches. Speaking of temples, this stage actually has some semblance of a puzzle, which is unique to this stage and this stage only. In order to continue further into the stage, we need to go down these steps and step on this glowing green platform. Technically, you can stop 2 steps short, but the idea is to step on the glowing platform. That's what caused these trampolines to spawn up here. I missed my jump, so I should probably deal with this mob of enemies first. They'd only get in the way if I ignore them. Now they're taken care of, I'll try again. Got it. That part could have easily drained my health and resources, but now we can move on and collect the heart container and the fire rod. I should probably get the potion as well before moving on. Next section's gonna get pretty tedious. Really, it's just a really long elevator climb with a few enemies raining down on top of you just for the sake of adding some unnecessary drama. It's not like the elevator sections from Streets of Rage 1 or 2 or even Hyperstone Heights. The only difference is I don't have to kill any of them. I just need to survive my trip to the top of this stage. There it is, the elevator sequence. I suppose while we wait, I should probably explain a few things about the next world we are about to visit. You see, Flying Runner is one of those games that doesn't have a single solitary online walkthrough on GameFAQs or anywhere else for that matter. The game's so rare, so niche, that absolutely no one was willing to take the time to actually write one up. Because of this, my third save state is going to have to be at the loading screen to that world. It's a pitifully easy world, in fact the easiest in the game by a country mile. However, there are a ton of branching one-way paths that one has to take. And seeing as this world is largely uncharted, I decided that I was going to have to map out the entire stage myself, just to check for any missing heart containers that I or other people may have missed out on over the years. Even if I'm not going for a perfect playthrough, I'd still recommend grabbing whatever heart containers that you possibly can, because you're gonna need them. Okay, we've made it all the way to the end of the crystal. Right off the ledge doesn't seem to work. Maybe I'll run and jump. A little ugly at the end, but at least we made it. Gotta wait for the crystal to turn into a bluish purple color first, then we go in. Just follow my lead and you'll reach the heart container. There are other treasure chests along the way, but they contain potions and gems, which we don't really need to get. So I'm just gonna speedrun my way to the heart container instead. Just barely made it. I should note that all these waterfalls with arrows pointing to them will eventually lead you to the exit, if that's all you care about. They're all one-way waterfalls anyways. But again, I can't stress enough just how much you absolutely need to get these heart containers. Even if you decide to skip out on the leap of faith in Waterworld, 9 heart containers are better than 6, 7, or 8, especially when it comes to fighting Zara. But now that we got this world's heart container, it's high time that we make like a tree and get out of here. For the record, the boomerang is in the Sky Palace. I almost forgot to mention this, but this is Sky World. It appears that Lady Palutena has put this place under renovation, and that Zara's minions have taken over in her absence. But that's okay, cause we're near the Sky Crystal anyways. Don't get where the manual's bullshit claims of it being brown come from. That crystal's very clearly blue, even more so than the water crystal. Okay, Sky Palace starts us off with some tricky platforming with a waterfall and slippery platform. But just remember, the name of the game is Flying Runner. Platform's not here, so might as well take out the horde of enemies. Pit slackens, so it's up to us to clear out Lady Palutena's temple before she gets back. Damn. Missed the cycle. Maybe I should stop cracking jokes and just concentrate. The boomerang's coming up next, so I got to focus. In fact, it's just straight ahead. Just gotta take out these enemies, and it's ours for the taking. Well, here it is. We just shoot open this chest, and then just try to grab it. Yeah, not sure what that was about, but at least we have it. Now we just have to backtrack to the lift and wait for it to come back down. It will take us to one of 2 waterfalls for us to take. Doesn't matter which one we go to, the layout's exactly the same either way. Don't forget to run and jump on your way here, or you'll fall into the endless void. And yes, there's even more waiting than before. I get the idea of the Sky Palace is to ascend to the top to reach the crystal, but why does the game insist on cramming in so many bloody lives? I'm almost all out of things to discuss at this point. I mean, there are other chests in the Sky Palace, but like the ones I didn't get in Skyworld, they're just gems and potions. And to be fair, I probably should have used a save state here so that I didn't end up dragging you guys into my time-wasting endeavors. I guess a part of me just wanted to make doubly sure there weren't any missing heart containers. Since after all, I tend to skip these chests and even completely forget about them altogether. It's honestly been a long time since I played this game, so my memory's a little fuzzy. Looks like that's everything. Now to make a mad dash towards the exit. Carefully, of course. Gotta keep my health up for the final battle after all. The game still restores 2 hearts worth of health every time I clear a stage, but caution is still a virtue at this point. There's only one color crystal left to get, and that's magenta. Of course, we need to climb our way up to reach it because it's too far away and too high up. And if you miss the jump, you will either die or be made to start all over again. Neither one of which is an attractive option. Waterworld will be our final world before we take on Czar, because there's a weapon there that we want immediately to the left of our pop gun. The bomb is still to our right, which means these 2 weapons are the only other weapons that we care about. Okay, we just have to clear these enemies out. We just need to take our time. You can see the waterfall, which means we're near the top. And when we reach that waterfall, we don't want to run. We don't want to move at all. We just want the waterfall to take us to the platform at the end. Because running and jumping, we could potentially fall off. And that's no good. Alright, here we go. We're off to Swamp World. I basically just breezed through this stage right here because it's... well, there really isn't any complicated or tricky platforming to speak of. The one thing I have to be cautious on is that the frogs, they can actually hop on these lily pads that we have to platform across. Otherwise, I'm effectively just speeding through this. Oh, that was close. Don't know what happened there, but I made it. Now, the remaining treasure chests are on those yellow lily pads. I think that was just a potion, but I'm not sure. I thought I got hit there, but apparently I didn't. And there's the shield. And there's the platform to move on. And I got the last heart. That's 10 heart containers. And RNG has been very friendly to me. Trying to figure out where I am. And, yep. That's all they have to figure out. Okay. And coming up, I sort of knew I screwed up my jump right there, so I basically realized I need to clear these bees out and get to an angle that I could actually make the jump. At least I didn't land on the lower platform. That was my one lone hiccup here. And then the Swamp Palace is basically a straight beeline to the exit. So I might as well talk about the next level a bit. You see, as I said all the way back at the Fire Palace, that's close to the very beginning of this playthrough. There are 3 ways that you can get a game over in Floating Runner. Number 1, you say no, you pick no at the continue screen, obvious. Number 2, you time out on a stage. But there is this 3rd way that you can time out. And that involves losing all your heart containers. I don't mean run out of health. I mean the heart containers, each of the 10 heart containers that we have are permanently taken away from you. That is about to happen. That is what could potentially happen in the next stage, and is exclusive to this next stage. Alright, the platform's there. You see, we have not fought a single boss battle yet. That's because there is only one boss fight in the entire game. And that's Czar in Dark World. If you lose to him, he will kick you all the way back to the first part of Dark World, which you have to replay all over again. Okay, we are about to near the exit. We are nearing the Dark Crystal. Here we are. And let's take a good look at that. So we absolutely do not want to keep our health as high as possible. Something else you're about to witness, and that's the enemies going poof once you make it to a high enough altitude. See? They're completely gone, and they don't respawn. And I'm just going to try to speed through this section. And poof. He will kick you back out and take away a heart container. And this is a slow ass lift right here. I'm hopping up and down because I want to make sure that I don't miss the lift. Okay, I'm gonna make it. Okay, so I'm trying to figure out, okay, which direction do I have to face to make it to the exit? Normally these load screens are very, very long. Those are your best bets to catch your breath, and you're gonna need them. Whew. It takes 26 bombs to kill Czar, by the way. You would take 255 hits from your homing gun, 128 for your pop gun. Shit. Missed a couple bombs. And you want to shoot those enemies. So I'm not trying to talk about this because this is one of the hardest bosses I've ever fought in my life. I got this game when I was 6 years old on Christmas. I would not be able to beat it until January of 2009. So, in a lot of ways, this is the game I couldn't beat. It wasn't the first game with that distinction, that would be Sonic 2. But this is the game with the distinction that I could not beat. And I had the game almost all my life. Alright, so this guy refuses. I'm trying to take my time. Keep behind him. Shit. Those flames could actually... Fuck. Those flames in the circle-y things can screw you over. And I'm already halfway out of life, so I need him to spawn enemies for me to take out. Can't take too many more hits. If you try beating this guy with the pop gun only, you could potentially run out of time. Now, I avoided taking damage there because I land on top of his head. Yes, that still deals damage. Come on, just spam some ectoplasmers. There we go. Shit. Alright. I gotta go aggro on this guy. Good. Come on, just a little bit more, I know. Shit. Down to 2 heart containers. Please don't hit me. Yeah, if you stay behind. Yes! I did it! Man, and for the longest time, I was only able to get 8 or 9 heart containers. And this guy almost fucking killed me. Yeah, you might think I actually hate this game or something. And to be fair, it objectively speaking isn't a good game. But it is a game that basically has a very special place in my childhood. It was the game I couldn't beat. And not only was this the 3rd time I've ever beaten this game in my entire life, it's actually the first time I did it at 100% completion. Keep in mind, I didn't know about the heart from the Leap of Faith in Waterworld. And I most likely or not had missed the heart in Skyworld as well. So when I hear this song as a kid, I only could hear it from the sound test. I never heard it from actually playing the game. So seeing this screen and actually having made it to this screen, there's actually a certain sense of accomplishment in that. Having said that, I would never want to try to play this game on a keyboard again. You know, trying to map out where the shoulder buttons go, as well as the 4-button configuration, it's a nightmare. I think if the next time I would play it, I would probably put the 2 front bumpers on A and D, and triangle would be S. And then I would basically put square X and circle on Z, X, and C. That would probably be how I do it. Alright, this is the last of my reserves. I also wanted to do this run specifically just to see how well a PlayStation game could run on my laptop. And it doesn't run particularly well. So, if I do play a PlayStation game, it will have to be via. Well, at the very least, I would need an actual controller to do it. And number two, I would probably need to get a capture card for my PlayStation 2. You know, the only regret I had was could not actually play this game, put the PlayStation disc into my laptop. It doesn't have a CD drive, so I had to get a ROM for this game to play it. It's a shame because it's a rare game. It is a very rare and very little known game. And here's the big boy himself, the Dragon Tsar. The number one reason why no one in my family was able to beat him, by the way. So, anyways, this is the last game in my reserves that I cut for me to upload onto YouTube. I think it's fitting that this will be uploaded just after Christmas because I recall this being my first video game Christmas present, along with the PlayStation itself. So, I think it's fitting here. But anyways, at the new year, I will be returning to my perfect playthrough of Final Fantasy VI. So leave a like and subscribe to my channel. I'd really appreciate it. This is Mike Gordon, signing out.